We made this.
Welcome to the Starlight Ballroom. Hey!
Hello and welcome to Shipwrecked and Comatose, the Red Dwarf podcast, right here on the We Made This podcast network. We are into our specials between Series 3 and Series 4, and I am your regular host, Mark. With me at this time, you're not Kurt.
What a Shipwrecked and Comatose. What's Red Dwarf? Who's Kurt?
Oh dear. Hello, Fraser.
Hello, Mark. How's it going?
So this is our very special, right in the childhood, Shipwrecked and Comatose crossover.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Crossing the streams. They tell you not to do that in Ghostbusters. But then that's what actually saves the day. So maybe we should cross the streams.
Hello and welcome to Right in the Childhood, sort of. The podcast on the We Made This podcast network, where two nearly millennials, sort of millennials.
Wannabe millennials.
Sort of, yeah. We have a chat about our treasured telly memories. We watch them and see if they hold up. And we also have our friend with us to offer a different generation's perspective.
Definitely. You've got the Gen X Millennial side sorted. I've got the Millennial Gen Z side sorted. Gen Z if you want to be American.
Yep. And normally, it's kids' TV. But obviously we're looking at Red Dwarf because it's our special Shipwrecked and Comatose crossover. If you do like what you hear when it comes to the format, our show, Right in the Childhood, is fortnightly on the We Made This podcast network. We take it in turns. I pick my kind of Gen X-y, early millennial telly shows, which kind of Red Dwarf counts, whereas Fraser, what do you pick?
I pick the end of Millennial and sort of more Gen Z kind of stuff. Most recently it's been a lot of Disney, but we're going to other stuff as well. Mark had a similar trend where he was doing a lot of almost Doctor Who.
Yeah, BBC drama shit.
But then we've managed to, we're mixing it up now.
Well, we're back with the Beeb, Fraser, because Red Dwarf is the Beeb.
The Beeb.
Have you... Right.
Is it on Dave now?
It is on Dave.
Yeah, okay.
So you've heard of Red Dwarf?
I've heard of Red Dwarf, and I know one of the main characters... His name's not Ray Charles, because that's the singer, right?
One of the main characters is played...
By
Craig Charles.
Craig Charles. Who's Ray Charles? Is that the...
Ray Charles is a music artist.
He is, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know Craig Charles from stuff you're probably not gonna like that I know him from. I know him from
Robot Wars?
Robot Wars and Coronation Street.
See, I love Robot Wars. I haven't got time to watch soaps.
He's quite good on Coronation Street. That was a big part of my childhood, was my mum sticking on the soaps. I knew the TV was the kids until like 7 o'clock when Emmerdale, EastEnders and Coronation Street was on. Which was fair, it was an agreement we all had.
And so Craig Charles was in Corrie when you were growing up?
He's still in it now, yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh.
I imagine so. I'll probably have to watch it again. But hey, now that I'm back in Manchester, I will be watching it.
Yeah.
The tradition continues. But yeah, he's I think he's like a taxi driver or something in there. But yeah, he was in that. But he was also the iconic voice of Robot Wars and sort of like the face of Robot Wars. But like when you hear the voice and stuff like that. And it was really weird when they brought Robot Wars back, it was like not having him.
But you've never watched Red Dwarf?
Nope. I hear it's got a lot of fandom though. Like a strong fandom.
It's very culty, and when you look at it, the longevity is almost second to none. The first episode was in like 1988, and the most recent film, which was like a TV movie, was just last year in 2020.
It's very similar to like Datsuno, isn't it? Like the way it's like you say, the longevity and stuff like that. And I think it's stuff as well that gets picked up upon. You know, from Americans with UK stuff, I think they think like, oh, if you want to get hooked on something, like there's the community thing of like Abed, there's like this TV obsessed character, and he always gets upset when a series ends. So someone suggests him to watch BBC British stuff because they go on for years and years, and he watches Doctor Space Time, and it's like it's a parody of Doctor Who and Red Dwarf, but you can see sort of why Americans sort of like, because I feel like more Americans like this stuff than this is what they think of as British TV, is like your Doctor Who's, your Red Dwarfs, and
yeah, I think Americans tend to think if it's BBC, it's what British TV is. And to be honest, they could have a less accurate opinion.
Yeah, that's true. But
it's interesting you compared it to Doctor Who, because like Doctor Who, it's had huge hiatuses, like a 10-year period between the BBC releases and the Dave stuff.
Oh, I do love Dave. It's a great channel, isn't it?
You've still not watched Red Dwarf?
The way Dave's just got such a hotbed of like old stuff and then stuff that other channels have rejected. Like, have you heard the story about Taskmaster?
What's that?
So it's this TV show, and basically Greg Davis leads it and stuff like that, and it's like there's I think 4 comedians, and basically each week Greg and I forget the second host. He's one of the other guys on Pointless, I think, or he's on something. But they basically set these comedians different tasks. But it's so obscure, or like, it's ways you can interpret.
I think I might have seen it a few times.
Yeah, so it was a big Dave show, but now it's on Channel 4. But Greg Davis went to Channel 4 first, and in the new trailers for the Channel 4 version, he reads out the rejection letter and goes, "Oh, is it not good enough for you now, Channel 4?" And now it's on there, so...
Right.
I do like a good bit of Storage Hunters on Dave.
Oh, I love a bit of Storage Hunters.
Yeah. I've just remembered the guy's name as well in Taskmaster. It's Alex Horn of the Horn Group. He's a good comedian as well, but he's sort of like Greg's sort of side man, and they sort of like set these challenges for him. It's it's hilarious. But yeah, no, Dave, honestly, the way it just brings like older shows, sort of like it's testing the waters with more like comedic stuff as well, like getting all these comedians working with him. Like so many different comedians are getting their own shows on there, like James Acaster has got Hypothetical, and so when Red Dwarf came back, did it come back, like did Dave make new episodes of them, or was it all just like BBC?
Well, Dave was showing Red Dwarf and getting really good viewing figures. So they did like a 3-episode special that was a bit meta. If you've ever seen the League of Gentlemen film, where they play themselves as well as their characters.
Right.
And that wasn't very good. I watched that, and that's the only Dave one I've watched, and I didn't think it was very good. But it did well enough that they then commissioned a new series,
cool.
And it keeps getting recommissioned. They've done a film.
Wow.
And yeah, it's been a huge success for Dave putting Red Dwarf on.
That's well good, yeah. Fair play to him. And they do some pretty good jokes as well in the adverts. It's like when you pick up, do you remember the penguin chocolate bars?
Yes.
I mean, they still exist now, but like you pick up a penguin.
Yes.
The slogan goes, and it's got like a little joke on. It's like that level of humour, but
right.
I always appreciate it on my way to an advert where I'm like, oh, adverts.
So, you know what Red Dwarf is then? What is your understanding of Red Dwarf as a telly show? Because normally we do like a pitch where if we've not heard of the show, we'll kind of guess what the show would be about. Do you think you can do that?
I've heard of it, no clue what it is. Okay. I know it's not about a dwarf.
Right, okay. Well, so
is Red Dwarf like a reference to a planet?
No.
I don't know. They're like I know there's like a group of them or something, and they do space stuff.
Wow.
Space.
All right. What would your
They've
pitch
got a
be?
ship, and it's wrecked, and it might be comatose.
Shipwrecked and Comatose, by the way, is a quote from the theme tune.
Ah.
So it's got
like
a very
salad and thingy eggs.
Yes, I suppose so. If you want to compare Red Dwarf to something awful like Fraser, yes.
Hey. Oh wait, you mean the TV show, not me. Okay, for you.
No, you're Fraser, not Frasier.
Fraser.
Remember the theme tune? It goes, "I want to lie shipwrecked and comatose, drinking fresh mango juice." So we got the name for the podcast from that.
So on the show Red Dwarf, do they drink mango juice?
No.
So the theme song lies.
It does.
Oh, but they want to do that, but they can't because of all the missions they're on.
Maybe.
There we go.
So you think they go on missions, do you?
I don't know, Am I off?
So, I mean, to try and define Red Dwarf is difficult because it does have a lot of changes in cast and what the focus is on, stuff like that.
Does Craig Charles become Ray Charles?
Craig Charles does not become Ray Charles, but Claire Grogan becomes Chloe Annette.
Oh.
They both play the same character.
Ah.
Which you will see in episode 1, but you won't see in the second episode of Chosen. So Claire Grogan...
Wait, so they changed it mid-episode?
No, Claire Grogan played Kachansky in the first few series,
Right.
and then Chloe Annett played her from series 7 onwards.
Cool. So I was going to say, that is an interesting choice to just change someone halfway through an
No,
episode.
no, it's not Attack of the 60-Foot Woman or anything like that where... Was it Attack of the 60-Foot Woman where they changed the actress halfway through?
I didn't know any show had ever done that before.
It was a film.
That's
But anyway, there are films that have done that.
very rude.
So, to try and define Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf is a British science fiction sitcom. It is very much played for laughs, with questionable continuity. It definitely has questionable continuity. It focuses on a crew of 3 initially, and then 4 later on, where they are 6 million years after civilization.
Whoa.
And I'm not going to tell you how that happens, because that's what happens in episode 1.
So 6 million years after civilization, so that's going to be 6,000,020.
It's a bit later because they went into space as a mining ship, like maybe 100 years after that, I think.
So that in this continuity, they didn't have the coronavirus.
In this no, they probably didn't have coronavirus. No, maybe they did. Maybe
that's
they did.
why they went on the jump ship.
Maybe
I would too.
But it started with Lister, Rimmer, and the cat, and from series 3 onwards, Crichton joined the crew. Crichton being the mechanoid, the robot that you may have seen.
There's a robot. Is it like a droid situation in Star Wars where they're one of the most lovable characters?
It's slightly different to... Well, maybe it's not that different to a droid. But yes, Crichton is a firm fan favourite.
Yes, I would imagine.
You won't see Crichton in episode 1, but you will see it in... Well, I'm just going to tell you what I've chosen. I've chosen an episode called Gunman of the Apocalypse.
Hooray.
Which is from series 6, which is a favourite episode of mine. I say our favourite. It is my favourite episode.
I was going to say hooray for the robot, less hooray for an apocalypse.
Well, no, exactly. But it's widely regarded as one of the very best episodes.
Oh, that's good.
There's a lot of excellent episodes of Red Dwarf. There are some that are okay, but there are very few that are poor.
Oh, that's good.
But
and you cover them all on the podcast.
We do it episode by episode, yeah. Yeah, it's a bit different to Right in the Childhood. We're doing a deep dive.
Could you imagine if we tried to do every episode of... Like,
no, thank you.
What would your show be from your childhood? Apart from Red Dwarf, obviously.
Of the ones we've done so far, I'd probably be most interested in doing a Robin of Sherwood podcast.
Yeah.
What about you?
Good question. Maybe... probably Recess, actually. I think Recess was one. Especially because we both got on with it as well.
We're not doing either of those.
But there are some shows in the future that I wouldn't mind as well. Maybe like a short one as well. You know, the ones where they're like 6, but I could commit to that.
Yeah. But no more podcasts for Mark.
He says.
Yeah, no. No.
Mark the date, guys, when you listen to this.
Oh, don't.
See how many podcasts afterwards.
Honestly, every time I sit with Kurt or Colin, we have an idea for a podcast. It's not good.
But what if we did the remakes or the adaptations of, or...
No, Fraser.
Was there an American version of this?
There was an American pilot.
Right. I feel like Americans love to get their hands on British stuff and attempt it.
They do, and it was wretched.
As I imagine.
It was wretched. The pilot got nowhere. They had Crichton in it. Robert Llewellyn continued playing Crichton, but they recast all the other characters.
They managed to do that with some stuff. Like the IT Crowd, the US version had Rich Dyer Ivey, so the guy plays Moss, and you think, yeah, Moss is the one of the most important characters. But it just wasn't the same, and they had
it just feels pointless if you're going to recast it all or don't recast at all and
That's
get
true.
the original casting. It seems silly because stuff like The Office did that well. They were like, right, we've got this as
We're a whole different
inspiration.
show, yeah.
Yeah.
I did like as well, like, the failure of the IT Crowd USA meant that we got Community. Because, the main guy who plays Jeff in that was Roy. And that flopped and we went to Community after that.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a nice little blend. That's 2 Community references I've done today.
You
Let's
do
see how
like
many more I can
Community.
get in.
Community probably doesn't count as something for right in the childhood, though, because you started watching it when you were at uni, right?
Yeah, I started watching it when I broke my arm. It was what got me through.
I don't remember when you broke your arm. You were
Yeah.
about 16?
I can't remember actually. I think so, yeah.
Mm.
It was in my teens.
Mm.
Broke my arm, couldn't brush my teeth, but what I could do was watch Community.
Well, there you go.
I've rewatched it many times since.
Community's alright.
How dare you. Before the gas leak, yeah.
We have got distracted, Fraser. I am going to press the pause button. We're going to watch episode 1, The End, and series 6, episode 3, Gunman of the Apocalypse. And we'll see you. Well, for us, it'll be about an hour. For you, it'll be about 10 seconds.
Yeah. We're going to watch those episodes and we're also going to listen to the Community podcast.
No, we're not.
Oh, it's actually...
But yeah, that's the format of our show, Fraser,
It
that
is,
we're
yeah.
guesting here.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, see you in a bit.
Can you do a Red Dwarf sound to transition?
Yeah. That's exactly what it sounds like. Mate. Oh, that's my favourite episode in all of Red Dwarf ever. So we have just watched Series 1, Episode 1, The End, and Series 6, Episode 3, Gunman of the Apocalypse. So, Fraser, what did you think?
I absolutely adored this show. It was hilarious. It was so funny. And I'm so glad you introduced me into it. And I'm so glad I didn't watch any of this or listen to your podcast beforehand, because now I kind of want to do both, if that makes sense.
I am so fucking pleased, because 9 times out of 10, you watch my stuff and...
Very hesitant about it.
gently humour me.
Yeah,
in a
to
kind
be honest, this has been the best of the batch, to be honest. This has been so good. And it's one of them where it's like, yeah, it's that Doctor Who sort of like audience or vibe or whatever. But this would be perfect for kids. There's nothing that's like, the humour is so, like, for everyone. Yeah, there's jokes that would go over some kids' heads, but they're like visual gags, the slapstick. They're just like the characters as well. They're childlike in a way as well. But obviously, one of them's like
Lister.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say the cat.
The cat.
The cat is literally like, you know, it's this new sort of new species of humans that's ever evolved from a cat. So they are sort of kid-like. Lister's definitely the like. That one, again, sort of Peter Pan, it's like you never sort of grow up. You just sort of like, oh, I've got this job, I'm fine, I'm having fun. I've got plans for Fiji. You seem like a very, like, almost like student or someone who'd just come out of college and just signed up for this. And it's like, oh, I'm getting a wage, it's fine, but I've got this idea of this great line.
So basically, you identified as Lister. Is
yeah,
that what you're getting at?
Yeah, it's Craig Charles. I had a feeling I was going to like his character just because I recognised him. Mm-hmm. But then it did help that his character was one of the most hilarious ones in it.
Oh, this is like a massive relief. It hurt when you weren't fond of the tripods.
Yeah.
But I do feel like, considering that this came out, the first episode that we watched, The End, came out about 4 years after the tripods.
Yeah. I think it was just something about it as well. I think it's like, I'm always more into like sitcoms or comedies. And I think that's what helped it more. That's what makes sense. Like with the difficulty with like the tripods or anything a bit too serious, right. You just sort of see like but like, you know, when the dated technology comes out on like film and TV, a bit like, oh, but with this it's like it was humorous because it's all supposed to be funny anyway.
Yeah.
And like, humour is almost timeless.
So
if it's appropriate humour, of course.
Yeah, so you feel like perhaps you can forgive the ropey sets of Series 1.
Yeah, and like the hologram stuff. Like,
yeah.
Obviously, it's not going to be as good, but like, the funny thing is, it's like, yeah, no, it's the like 80s or 90s sci-fi. It's what you're expecting. It's pretty funny. I could see TV shows now doing a parody of this almost in a way. Like, you know, someone coming out and doing a showing bad effects. Like if Red Dwarf. I've not seen the new stuff, but if they were to parody their older episodes, it would still be funny. And if they did the new modern technology, it would also work as well.
Well, I've not seen any of the Dave stuff. I don't think they do that, to be honest with you. But I think it's odd, isn't it, that whereas something like the tripods, if the special effects are dated, it takes you out of the situation. Whereas if you're watching a comedy, a sitcom, it can almost, without being deliberate, add to the
humour,
funny.
Yeah. And it's one of them as well. It's sort of, I guess it's like, you look at timeless films or like the 80s or 90s films that everyone remembers, like Ghostbusters, like Back to the Future. Their effects were stunning, and that's why I sort of remember that. But also, like, the characters and the humour and the humour behind it you sort of identify with, which I think we did with these characters. I'm not going to lie, I could not tell you a single Tripod's character's name.
I know.
But like these Lister. Was he just called the Cat, or did he get a name?
He's just called the Cat. He doesn't have a name. The Cat.
But yeah, like, you know, you remember them, and it was a good group. To be fair, I really enjoyed it. And like, obviously in season 2 they introduced the fourth cast member. Or was it later on?
Crichton was introduced in Series 2 for one episode, but he became a main cast member from Series 3.
Right. So like, even the introduction of him, it was like, okay, this is cool, and he was a fun addition to have as well. And they've all bring something interesting to the play, and it was obviously it starts with, you know, with the two main characters, and you sort of like, okay, they're the most that are like us, but then one becomes a hologram, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, so everyone's bringing something different to the table, and then that brings different levels of humour. So
going into episode 1 completely fresh, I deliberately told you nothing other than the fact that it's 6 million years in the future, something happens. And you only knew about Craig Charles being a main character. As you were getting into it, did you expect any of the characters that died to be a permanent cast member, or what did you think was happening?
No, I thought it was literally just going to be I saw the two being a main point of thing because we focused on them quite a lot, and then the other characters were sort of like, oh no, this is the rest of the crew. If anything, it made me think, oh, all these characters are going to have to go because clearly the story is just going to be about these two, or like, maybe we'd get like a Simpsons or Recess thing where it's like the other cast members would be touched upon in later episodes. But I was like, no, I can only see these two, and like maybe a mission happens and these two get left or whatever, or what actually happens, which is hilarious and very well set up as well. Because like, obviously, you know, one character is set away, frozen in time, and one does die. But we learn about the hologram stuff earlier on, so that's how they use it, and it was very cleverly done. Like, no. You know, you couldn't have any questions about, oh, why did these two survive? It's like, no, they survived because of the characters they are and stuff. It was very nice.
So who was your favourite character?
Oh, it was Lister.
I thought it would be. I felt like his sass and his attitude and his refusal to grow up was very you.
Literally, as soon as like he opened his mouth in the first episode, I was like, yeah, this is a winner for me. Lister all the way.
And who do you think is my favourite character?
Oh, I forget what it was. The hologram.
Rimmer.
Was it? Is it Rimmer?
Rimmer's the hologram. Yeah.
No, that's what I mean. Is Rimmer yours?
No, it's the cat.
Oh, it's the cat.
Of course, it's the cat.
It's a cat. Yeah.
Fool. I think the episodes we've seen, Rimmer in particular here is cowardly and quite unredeemable.
Perfect there.
But as he goes along, you get to see things that happened to him that made him that way, and he does become a very, very sympathetic character in a lot of ways. And the first episode, he definitely doesn't.
Yeah. But I could see that those qualities were definitely going to be in there or something. Like, he talks about, like, how he's brought up with the wrong parents and stuff like that. And there was like subtle hints that it was like, okay, there's more here. There's a reason why he's like this, and there's also a reason why Lister still sticks around with him, because you know, your mates do some stuff sometimes that make you go, oh, why are you doing that? And some people would, you know, probably call them out on it, but you know that, like, because they're your mates, you're like, oh no, it's fine. Like, you look past it.
Yeah.
So I think I was like, that was in my head. I was like, Lister must be doing this for some reason. Like, Rimmer must be a good person somewhere. Or they must have had some connection.
Rimmer is a much deeper character than Lister in a lot of ways, because he is so damaged and he is so paranoid, and
I think he's just not confident as well. Like, it shows in the first episode where, like, he's, you know, going for this exam, and clearly he is intelligent. Like, he knows the codes, it just always gets flummoxed with him, or like he's trying to write in the exam and he gets stressed out. And we all know those people who are like, they're great at the knowledge, but as soon as it comes to an exam, they're like, freeze up and everything, and then can't even write their own name or put, like, I'm a fish repeatedly. There was someone at my college apparently took too many energy drinks and just wrote their name repeatedly, but the teacher couldn't understand why they got such a low mark, and they got it sent back and checked, and they're like, what happened here? And it's just, yeah, if you're taking exams, just try and find like a calming place to be. I always like found like breaks and like doing like maybe like not meditation, or like if you do like yoga or exercise or stretching, just something that sets your mind at ease. Or like showers as well, because sometimes you'll get like a different thought and like, oh, this is how I can tackle that problem, especially if it's like maths or something. Just a bit of exam advice for you, you know, during a podcast about childhood shows. And
Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
Remember, we're a Red Dwarf podcast too. We're kind of both podcasts.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I was trying to do the both. I was going to say, like, and a podcast about a cult classic TV program.
Mm-hmm. So, the humour is incredibly British.
Yeah.
Stuff like library books and the deadpan everybody's dead Dave and stuff like that. It feels very, very British.
And they always extend on the joke as well, which is I always love. Like, sometimes with American sitcoms, it's like, bam, joke, different joke, different joke. Whereas, like, Britain, it's like, no, it's the same joke, but we're seeing how many tiers we can get it, how many levels. It's like a cake. Too many and it might fall over, but just enough and it's like, oh, look at that tower. Tower of humour.
Right, random fact.
Oh.
Here we go, for the funeral.
That
wasn't what was originally broadcast. They originally played See You Later Alligator, but the Netflix version doesn't have the rights for that, so they had to change it.
Oh, I've seen this happen with, I've been rewatching Scrubs, and they mentioned it on the Scrubs Rewatch podcast that a lot of, like, difference between TV and streaming, like the different rights and stuff like that. That's well interesting. Which do you think works better for the gag?
For the character, I felt like See You Later Alligator was more along the kind of awkward humour that he had.
Yeah.
Do you not think?
Yeah, I kind of get that. I guess it's hard because I didn't see and hear the gag at the same time. Like, if I saw the two gags side by side, it's really interesting. So, obviously, you've already rewatched the pilot and done it for the podcast.
Yeah.
When you guys all rewatched it, did you all rewatch it on the same platform? Like, because we watched it on Netflix. Did they all watch it on there? Did some watch it on BBC?
No, and that's how we spotted it in episode 1, is that Kurt spotted that they changed it.
Right.
Because I don't think I would have clocked it, but as soon as he mentioned it, I was like, oh shit, yeah.
You just, sometimes you just remember it's a song, but then when someone mentions it, you're like, oh yeah, what's that specific thing? And it's obviously it's a smaller thing in this because it's just to emphasise a gag, but sometimes music in shows can play a pivotal part, and it can change if it's like, oh no, we had to go do this because of rights or something. Like, oh, it doesn't have the same impact. I think that happens a lot with Scrubs. And they already spent a lot of money on soundtracks, so you'd be annoyed if it was like, oh no, because of a streaming thing you can't. Oof.
So as a 20-something, you weren't born when either of these episodes had been made.
No.
So some of the cultural references are dated. And I guess it's one of the hardest things with sci-fi, to be able to predict what will be super, super dated.
Yeah.
But no one processes photos anymore.
No, that's true.
And modems, do you remember them?
No, it was funny though.
You don't remember modems, you're so young.
It was funny because when he said like a photo of a cat, I was like, oh yeah, he took a selfie or something with it, or like he posted it on Instagram. Like I imagine that would have been like if it was made now, it's like, this is your cat, this is you and your cat on Instagram or whatever. But again, it was one of them like, because they start in the past and then they go to the future, time becomes irrelevant then. They're already, dated when they go into their future, and the audience are dated, like, no matter what time. Unless you're watching this in 6 million years. If you listen to this podcast in 6 million years, Google us and see.
Google in 6 million years.
They probably won't get whatever replaces Google. And I feel like Google will stand.
Google will probably own the world.
Yeah. There'll be a fight between Google and Disney.
Disney might win, actually. Oh dear.
No, I told you about my prediction for like a war, an Amazon and Disney war, and they have like, so there's a battleground. This is very off topic, but hey, if the Red Dwarf writers want to use this for a storyline, we'd be fine.
Yeah, because the Red Dwarf writers definitely listen to this podcast.
Hey, how happy would you be though if they did?
I'd be very pleased.
It'd be well good. But anyway, to digress from the digression. One side is like the Disney army, the other side is the Amazon army. You know when we're not fighting about countries anymore or religion, we're fighting about companies.
Very
Black Mirror episode.
So dark, but
But like the one side will go, ho, and like get ready to charge with Mickey, and then the other side will go, Alexa, play war music. Dun-dun.
Did you just... You just activated my Alexa. Alexa, stop.
I think enough of that song was muted. The song was muted enough that can be kept in, right? Oh, that's hilarious.
That's not funny. Switch her off.
I've switched Alexa off. And... oh no, but now Alexa will know about my predictions for the future, and she'll report to head office and be like, they're on to us.
Right, you're in trouble, mate.
Oh no.
You're in trouble.
And I've said it on a podcast as well. Oh no.
You're in trouble, mate.
If you don't see me on the next episode, if I'm replaced by welcome to Right in the Childhood with your guests, Mark and
Alexa.
My Alexa. So Alexa, what do you have from your childhood?
Well,
I can recommend the Amazon series, Jack Ryan.
Fuck me. Anyway.
What? Mr. Robot.
Anyway, it's on... Anyway. Actors, did you recognise any of the actors playing some of the parts?
Some, but I don't know what from.
Did you not spot who Peterson is?
No.
Mr. Weasley.
Thought so.
Yeah.
I knew it was. I was like, I spotted him from somewhere, and I was like, is that another Corey actor? And it is, isn't it?
He's probably the most famous one. But the guy who played Selby was in EastEnders for years.
Right.
And Captain Hollister's been in quite a few things. Claire Grogan, who played Kachansky, she was Gregory's girl, if you've ever seen that film.
No. When they said Hollister and they talked about the dust, I was expecting to pick up and go, I just smell like Hollister, but then I remembered Hollister wouldn't have been a thing right now. You know Hollister the store?
I don't know what Hollister the store is.
Oh, it's a clothing store. It's got a very distinct smell. Like, if you ever go in the Trafford Centre or, like, the Arndale Centre and walk past it one day and you'll just go, okay, that is Hollister. Like, Hollister is renowned for its smell.
Is it a good smell?
Some say yeah, some don't like it. Some, I think, because of, like, it becomes that popular that people like. It's like Nando's. Like, people go, oh, I love Nando's. Or some people go, oh, I hate it, it's overrated.
Do you know what? You live in a different bloody world to me.
No, I'm sure Millennials and Gen Z will know exactly
but I'm neither of those things!
But the podcast, they're listening.
Okay,
they know.
Okay.
Let us know what you think about the Hollister smell. You don't have to be Millennial or Gen Z, even if you're Gen X as well. If you're a boomer as well, that'd be impressive.
Boomers listening to podcasts? Surely not.
No, they just play it on the radio.
Anyway.
Accidentally pick it up.
How did you feel like the balance of comedy and sci-fi was in the show?
Perfect, to be honest. Yeah, it's ideal.
Yeah, I think so too.
Honestly, there's nothing like... And all the sci-fi as well was just stuff that was like... It was, sci-fi gibberish to help the plot or to execute a joke. You didn't actually need to be like, right, oh wait, what? Carry the 6 and then that's actually how that works. So you didn't need to get your board out. You know, like with Back to the Future or like Avengers Endgame or anything like that, where you're like, oh no, wait, the science don't actually, like, I doubt there's Red Dwarf fans that go, actually they won't be able to do this, because they literally just, it's a throwaway line, and then you go, okay, they're doing this now. Like in the season 6 episode, when they need to do the virus, they just go, okay, you just put that on, and they're putting on the VRs to go in.
Yeah.
We don't need this elaborate thing of going in. We just know that this is a sci-fi world. It works like that.
Yeah. They do tend to set it in a sci-fi world, but not go heavy into the sci part of it.
Yeah, which I appreciate, I think. And
so we're going to move on to Gunman of the Apocalypse after having a look at the end. The end was broadcast in 1988. I want you to tell me when you think Gunman of the Apocalypse was broadcast. What year, roughly, do you think it was broadcast?
The 90s. Oh, 93.
Bang on.
Get Out.
Bang on.
Hey, so that's like 5 years later.
I feel like the
There you
advance
go,
in tech...
that's the maths degree right there for you.
Yeah, but no, seriously.
5 years.
Fuck's sake. I feel like the advance in tech is significant
I did say
and production value.
I said to you, didn't I? I was like, you were like, oh, what do you think of the new intro and stuff like that? So you can definitely tell that the production design's got a bit better and stuff like that. And obviously, more money had been put into it, and obviously, like, the more technology would have been there, because in time, you know, more technology gets improved and stuff. The hologram stuff as well changed. And you were giving me a lot of, because there was a lot of changes during the series.
Oh yeah,
as well.
so
do you want to fill
it
all into them that way?
So we watched episode 1, and I was like, "Yo, I don't need to explain anything." We watched the theme tune, and I was like, "Oh, wait a second." So I paused it, and I had to explain why Holly was a woman.
That is hilarious. Please tell that story again, because that is so funny.
Well, everybody who's like Red Dwarf fans knows, but basically, Norman Lovett got fired, so he ended up being replaced by Hattie Hayridge, who played the female equivalent.
I just like that. Did they purposely go out of their way to do that alternative reality story to replace him, or was it just a happy?
I think so.
Because that is a very, like, not bitter, but that's like a very convoluted way of getting rid of someone. But I respect it. But if it's one of the things of like, oh, we've already done a like alternative reality, why not just take them? Then that's like you've done a clever fix there. Either way, I'm all for it, and I think it's hilarious.
The thing is, if Hattie Hayridge had been shit, it would have been a massive detriment to the show. But she wasn't. She was also brilliant.
Yeah. I think it also works that the character can change gender or can change, because it's like a program, really. You know?
Yeah.
So it works really well. There's a show from my childhood called My Parents Are Aliens.
Right.
So the parents are aliens, but they disguise themselves as humans to be parents. And the mum, the actress, changed halfway through from like a blonde woman to a brunette woman, all the way around. But the reason why it worked on that show was she was an alien. She could literally change however she wanted to look.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's one of those natural things where it's just like, you know, like we talked about with round other shows we've looked at.
Round the Twist we looked at.
Round the Twist, and they've had to change. And
yeah, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air as well.
Yeah.
So I also explained the hard light drive, and Crichton's a new character.
Yeah.
And finally, just a minor thing. Oh, they've lost Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
I said to you...
That was the important thing.
Yeah, I said to you, nothing has changed. Then I realised, actually, quite a lot has changed.
And the most important... The titular ship.
Yeah, there's more ongoing plot in Red Dwarf than I think there is.
Yeah. Do you find that when you're watching this show in a rewatch situation? Because when we've rewatched stuff, haven't we, from... Obviously, we've rewatched stuff for this podcast, but then, like, we'll revisit stuff as well. So, like, you did it with Tripods. After watching a few episodes with me, you went and watched it by yourself, the rest of it, and I did the same with Recess. And do you find that when you're doing Shipwrecked and Comatose, that you're like, oh my goodness, you're noticing all these things, like, that's from that episode, that's continuing on, or...
Yes, to some extent, yes. But also, I've just realised how deep Red Dwarf is. As a kid, when I watched it, it was just that programme that it was a bit naughty that I was watching it because it was for adults. It was funny, it was edgy, and it was sci-fi, and it was cool. But as a grown-up rewatching it in a kind of analytical way, I've really appreciated how sophisticated, how intelligent, how satirical, and how, bloody hell, how much they get into a 30-minute episode.
Yeah.
And not just the gags, but the subtleties and the sci-fi elements and the real kind of philosophical stuff that I didn't spot when I was 12 or 13 watching this. I love rewatching it, that not only does it hold up and is still funny, but that I'm getting more out of it as a podcaster looking for stuff.
Yeah.
That I didn't get in the initial 100 times. I watched this so many times as a kid. VHS.
Oh.
I had all the VHSs. Watched it out of order and it didn't really matter. Whereas these days now, I absolutely have to watch from start to finish.
There is that new culture behind it of like having to watch every episode, and I think that is benefiting shows like this because they, again, it's why we said it in the beginning of this talk after we came back. It's perfect for kids and for adults. Adults, like you say, if you're watching it in order, you can get these deeper things. Kids can just enjoy it and not like look too much deeper into it. But now that we're doing this sort of like watching one after another, it is sort of like, okay, you're being rewarded for that. But also, if you just want to stick it on, you can do. So it's like the best of both worlds, and not all shows do. And I think sometimes we've noticed doing these rewatch things, it can be the detriment to some shows, or it can make shows that they are, you can just stick it on, or you do have to follow them through. But all the way through. And
we've kind of discovered really that I like the linear shows, and you like the drop-in, watch one episode kind of thing, don't you?
So this is like best of both. It's got us both sorted. There's a bit of a Simpsons gag as well. Like, to cut a long story short, I've watched all the Tree Houses of Horrors last Halloween, and in one of them they make a joke, because one of them it was like the 600th episode of The Simpsons.
Right.
And there's like, there's been 600 of these, and it was like, yeah, and now they make you watch them all in order. And it's just like, oh yeah, that's the thing. There's not like, it's just a changing culture, innit? And it's good to see that Red Dwarf has managed to stick throughout it all. I mean, this is on Netflix, one of the biggest streaming services out there, and people probably would have picked it up on Netflix, and different generations are looking at it.
So, the sight gag of Lister tonguing the VR woman. VR was a really kind of new concept around this time. It was also certainly nothing like the VR we have. This predicted the future, basically.
Yeah, well, it's one of those interesting ones, because like VR and 3D have come and gone so much, haven't they? Like 3D especially, but like VR, like what's that? Oh, you gave me the DVD once for it, and it's one of those like so bad it's good films.
Lawnmower Man?
Yeah, you knew as soon as like Community did a parody of it recently.
I love Lawnmower Man.
So funny, and the Dean's like worlds upon worlds, and it's just like VR's been a great point for humour, I think. That whole thing of like, oh, the person looks so goofy on it, and like when you're looking from their perspective, it looks incredible, but you're looking at it, and to be fair, VR's still like that. Someone puts on a headset, they still look goofy then.
Some of the YouTube stuff that I've watched recently where they show the people in the VR rooms do look as dumb as Lister did in that.
Exactly, yeah.
It predicted the future.
Yeah.
It's The Simpsons, maybe.
Yeah. It's not as creepy as The Simpsons, because I was going to say VR's been around for a bit, hasn't they? But who knew it would stick around?
But Red Dwarf really relies on a lot of sight gags. It's very slapstick.
Yeah.
And it's more slapstick on the rewatch than I remember it being.
Yeah, I think slapstick's great as well, because it's ageless. Like, if you look at those silent films like Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin, like, they are still funny. You don't need historical context, you don't need like, oh, in this world or whatever, or like nothing's dated. It's like someone whacking their head on something is always going to be funny. Do you know what I mean? The pitchfork gag, that's always going to be funny no matter what you do, even if you do it in space and it's with a space pitchfork.
Space fork.
Yeah, space like it's never not going to be funny, is it? So
no,
always a bit of slapstick.
Yeah.
Or space stick.
Space
Slap
stick.
space. Slapspace.
That doesn't make any sense.
Pick your favourite. Slap space or space slap.
No.
Space stick.
Give up, Fraser.
Space stick or slap. Yeah, they're your two options.
I want to explain something to you. The joke that you didn't get.
Oh, yes.
So when Crichton was recalling Rimmer and he says, I've got a name, Smee, that goes back to a specific joke where Lister was trying to teach Crichton to be rude to Rimmer. And he was trying to get him to say Smeghead. Rimmer is a Smeghead.
That's funny.
But Crichton was like, Rimmer is a Smee, he, and he couldn't say Smeghead.
That is a very funny joke. They always calls him a Smeghead. Like, again, it goes to that sort of like friendship where like they're sort of insulting each other, but you know, there's something deeper there.
Yeah, so I wanted to explain that to you because I didn't think there would be any problems with having to explain stuff to you. But yeah, even an ongoing gag, as well as the changes in the characters and the changes in the show, what had happened, I'm like, I'll explain that to you in a bit.
It's funny as well, isn't it? Because like at this point, you got whereabouts are you guys in your podcast and rewatching? Is it like
this episode is airing between series 3 and series 4?
Wow, so this was a jump to like season 6.
Yes, so we'll be
you're
looking.
Gonna be able to watch this again soon.
Yeah. Well, we'll be doing Gunman of the Apocalypse as a full episode a bit later on, where we'll go through it in detail.
Oh, wow.
But we
so you've got the jump start there on there.
This is a little bit of a jump start. I picked Gunman of the Apocalypse because it's my favourite episode.
Yeah.
Simply put.
And so I see why it was very funny.
Yeah, and I always liked how it took these characters that I was now very familiar with and dropped them into a weird and different scenario.
I know, right, this is the fourth mention, but it's very reminiscent of like
Community.
They've got the background of like, oh yeah, they're in a space wing, yeah, they're in a community college, but then it's like, okay, they're doing a virtual reality thing here. Like, Community did it virtual reality with like a KFC episode. It's like, I imagine there's different ones as well, like the
it's very Star Trek, isn't it?
The paintball episodes, and yeah, it's like we've got this background, but we're using that background to tell interesting stories.
Yeah,
and I think
and Star Trek did it before Red Dwarf. Let's be honest, the hologrammatical stuff.
Yeah.
But
this was more fun than Star Trek.
Well, yes, Red Dwarf is better than Star Trek. Of course it is.
Oh, is that a controversial opinion to say?
Probably is on this network. There's loads of Star
Trek
shows.
You're going to start a civil war on the We Made This podcast network between the Star Trek podcast and the Red Dwarf podcast, considering
we love each other.
You are heavily outnumbered there as well.
We love each other. I listen to some of the Star Trek podcasts.
Oh, only some. No, I'm joking.
Because some of them don't cover the kind of Star Trek I like.
Yeah, there's a lot of Star Trek in there.
I'm not sure. I was going to say you'd like the Lower Decks cartoon, but it does rely a lot on
like past Star Trek knowledge,
in gags, in jokes.
Yeah.
So no, you probably wouldn't. I don't think
it looked quite funny, to be fair, and it reminded me a lot of that Orville that Seth MacFarlane made.
Yeah, I enjoyed Lower Decks.
I have a feeling Seth MacFarlane really wanted to make a Star Trek show. He made the show, and they went no, and he went fine. I'll put my own sticker on it. I'll do my own show with blackjack and hookers. In fact, forget the show. That's sort of Futurama reference for you there. If you didn't,
I did get it.
Oh, I'm glad. I knew you would. Every time we watch one of my shows, go, that's Bender again.
Yeah, it's
that's
true.
Leela.
It's true. So I'm not going to do a deep dive into Gunman of the Apocalypse unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about that particular episode.
No. And it's one of them as well. We can't exactly ask, if this was to be remade, would you want it?
It's still going.
It's still going, mate.
Mm-hmm.
How mad's that? It's going for generations.
So, Fraser, normally, at this point, I would ask you...
where this fits on the top 5.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to add Red Dwarf to the top 5.
I know.
But in theory...
It would have been number 1.
Really? It would have gone straight to number 1?
Wait, what was my past number 1? No, yeah, it would have been number 1.
This would have gone straight to number 1?
Yeah.
Good grief. This kind of splinter episode, and it's the favourite thing that I've shown you. That's mad.
Exactly.
So the next question is, are you going to carry on watching?
It's on Netflix, isn't it? So,
yep. Well, all the BBC stuff is on Netflix, up to Series 8. where it then moved on to Dave with the Back to Reality special that I was talking about. So you've still got a good, what's 6 times 6 plus
36.
2 times 8?
So there's 36
Plus 16.
Yeah.
That many.
52.
There's 52 episodes on Netflix.
So glad it's Master University. Bit awkward if I got it wrong then.
You gonna watch it?
I think I might do, who knows, I might get BritBox. Said no one ever.
Wow, that was gutty.
I'm throwing that out there. No, yeah, probably will. Or obviously there's BBC iPlayer as well, and then there's Dave, I think, have UK TV Gold as well, so...
I'd happily sit and watch Red Dwarf till the cows come home. We can watch it together if you want.
What, you'd watch it on top of your podcast as well?
Yeah.
Love that.
Absolutely.
See, that just shows how much love we've got for it. I was going to say, with a rewatch podcast, have you, obviously, clearly with this one you haven't, have you not found that, there's parts of the show that you're like, ooh, or...
You mean, have we found 80s ick?
Well, a bit of that, but also, you're almost forced to watch it all. So is there any part of you that's, regretting it, or, regretting seeing it in a different way? Or...
There is some 80s ick, which... could have been worse, but still isn't ideal.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of animal cruelty in one of the episodes, for example. And...
not to the cat.
No, it's live fish that are taken out of water for a joke. That's pretty icky. And there's some questionable gags that are quite misogynistic now. But I do feel like... it doesn't go to the point where it's unwatchable like some of the stuff that I've watched in the B-movie podcast that I do, Super Tat Film Club. And, yes, that does affect my enjoyment. But what I will say is that I've just found that this is incredibly crafted British humour that I was just expecting laughs from my childhood, whereas... with a critical eye, there are some problematic moments. But there's so much more to Red Dwarf than I ever realised that there was.
I think it just helps that it's an incredible show, really, don't it? Especially if you're rewatching it all as well, you kind of want that, and it's a good one to rewatch.
So thank you very much for tuning in to this special edition.
Thanks for having me on Shipwrecked and Comatose, in a way.
Yeah, well, it's been... right in the childhood, and it's been Shipwrecked and Comatose. If you are
the childhood has been shipwrecked and comatose.
The what now is what now?
Shipwrecked and comatose in the childhood.
That makes no sense.
Right in the shipwrecked and comatose.
Right in the Shipwrecked and Comatose.
The childhood has been sent right in the shipwrecked.
Give up, Fraser.
There's a title there.
But if you have enjoyed the format of Right in the Childhood, where two idiots with Peter Pan complexes take one of their treasured TV memories from two different generations, and one is having another look at something they loved, whereas the other one is looking at something that they've never bloody even heard of most of the time. And I love our little podcast.
It's very nice, I love it too. It's like a little bit...
I'm glad we could do the crossover with Shipwrecked and Comatose.
Yeah.
But if you've enjoyed the format, and you've enjoyed us as a couple, pairing...
A duo.
We're not a couple.
A dynamic duo.
Yeah, oh dear.
Oh, that's like Batman and Robin.
You're too old to be Robin.
You could be Batman. Oh no, not in the 60s one, surely he was way old.
Well, maybe.
Batman and Robin. Batman.
Anyway...
Batman.
Whatever our fucking dynamic is. If you've enjoyed
it could be worse. It could be what the ones from SpongeBob.
What?
SpongeBob had his own versions of Batman and Robin, Barnacle Boy.
I mean,
no.
what did you call it? Doc Brown and Martin McFly.
That's the one.
Anyway, if you've enjoyed that, we take it in turns. Sometimes we watch my stuff. Sometimes we watch his stuff. And sometimes we get
We're going to be watching other stuff.
Yeah. And sometimes we get hit right in the childhood.
Yeah.
So
sometimes we get shipwrecked and comatose right in the childhood.
Oh,
if you've got a title suggestion for the mixture,
we're never going to look at Red Dwarf again.
I like mixture names there.
We don't need a title.
Yeah, but it's like Brangelina. Even though it ended, the name is still nice.
What? Brangelina? What is that? Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie?
Yeah.
See, I did a good guess.
There you go.
Maybe I've heard it before. Anyway, we don't need a name. We've finished it now. Go away, Fraser.
I'm going to Go on the Red Dwarf over here. Oh, no, wait, it's flying off again. Oh,
Starbug.
we've lost it. Dun, dun, dun.
So yeah, thank you for listening to Shipwrecked and Comatose, featuring Fraser.
I'm right in the childhood.
And is right in the childhood. And until next time...
Oh, is that the send-off? Cool. Can I have a go? How does it go?
Go on, have a go.
You do it again.
What the fuck was that?
It was an attempt.
Shipwrecked and Comatose, a Red Dwarf podcast, was created and produced by Mark Adams and Kurt North. You can find us on Twitter at Red Dwarf Pod, and we are part of the We Made This Podcast network, which can be found online at wemadethispod.com or on Twitter at wemadethispod.
Hello everyone, this is Tony, Network Chief of We Made This. As you know, our podcast network brings together a brilliant assortment of talent who talk about all kinds of pop culture content, such as the episode you've just listened to. We're not going anywhere, but we'd love to keep the lights on for even longer if you're able to support our network on Patreon. For just £2 a month, you get your name in lights and the satisfaction of knowing you're helping us produce more great audio. And for £3 a month, you'll get your name in lights, but you'll also get access to an exclusive bi-monthly podcast from the We Made This talent pool on podcasting, pop culture, and, well, you tell us. We'll take your suggestions. For less than the price of a coffee per month, you can help keep We Made This going. Just head to patreon.com/We Made This. That's patreon.com/We Made This. And get the ball rolling.
Right in the Childhood is a podcast brought to you by the We Made This Podcast Network. You can follow the show on Twitter at RITCpod. The show's creators and hosts are Mark Adams and Fraser Summers. Follow us on Twitter at MarkAdamsHC and at SpiderPanTweets. The show's logo was created by Carl Bryan and the theme tune composed and performed by Colin Jackson Brown. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed being hit
Elsewhere on We Made This. Right in the childhood.
At the moment, number 1 is Gummy Bears, number 2 is Robin of Sherwood, number 3 is Dark Season, and number 4 is The Tripods. Where are we putting Cyber City?
This is going straight to the top, popping right to the top.
Oh.
I was all about this, yeah.
My goodness.
I was digging this. I feel like my top 5 for your stuff has been like everything's getting better and better. But yeah, I was digging it.
We dig music.
She always makes me think of my mum, though, because my mum's middle name is Avril.
Right, okay, I thought you meant because your mum was a skater boy?
Because she was a skater boy, yeah.
or your dad was?
Actually, my dad was. My dad,
There you
in
go.
his youth, used to play roller hockey.
I don't think that's quite the same as being a skateboarder.
He was a skater boy. He had
Fair
roller
enough.
boots.
Boots don't count.
Don't diss roller boots.
Roller boots are f***ing rubbish. I fucking tripped over a roller skate earlier, so roller skates can
Roller boots are coming back in a big way, man. I've seen loads of people doing f***ing skating.
that
like
is that is true. Actually, you've seen.
I always wanted some and I never got a pair.
You could get some now.
Yeah.
Could have had some for your 50th birthday. That wouldn't have been a midlife crisis, would it?
Yeah, I'll probably kill myself by I'm 51.
Yeah, don't do that. We've got a load more episodes planned.
We are Starfleet.
They want to share their joy, their feelings, you know, whether it's happiness or disappointment. And I understand. But Thursday afternoon, you know, taking a screen grab of the final act and like the big reveal and just like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And then hashtagging like Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard, Star Trek Voyager. It's like, come on, man, you're spoiling it.
Yeah, I hate spoilers myself. I do, whenever there's something I'm looking forward to, I do try to stay off of any and all social media if I can.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.